It seems there's unwritten rules for everything these days. You can't steal with a big lead in baseball, pad your stats in basketball, and so on. However, there is one unwritten rule that all men have learned to abide by: never cry. That only the toughest and the strongest make it. And that's what we believe, that these athletes are almost beyond human, the toughest people out there. The people who didn't listen to haters at a young age, who played with people older than them, who stayed up until 2 in the pouring rain just to improve their dribbling or throwing accuracy. And, for most athletes, most of this stuff is true. What they have been through is ridiculous. And how they have managed to reach the level they are at is almost unheard of, mentally. They probably are unbelievably strong. But one thing that audiences fail to accept is that they can also have moments of weakness. Everyone can, but when these people, portrayed as strongly as they are, break down and cry, it becomes a headline in every newspaper. Sometimes it's a few tears here and there. Sometimes it can be hysterical crying, shouting, emotional or humorous in its own way. There are hundreds of these moments. In today's video, I'll be sharing the NBA moments that will make you cry. Hope you enjoy it. Chris Bosh after NBA Finals. The member of the Big Three who probably took the least burden after the team disappointingly lost in the NBA Finals was the one who broke down and cried. This wasn't the first time we had seen Bosh cry on live television. When the Heat lost to the Magic after being up 22 in the regular season, Chris let a few tears roll down his cheeks during the post-game press conference. I know the video isn't perfect for seeing the tears, but it's the best camera they had on him. Michael Jordan's first championship. Michael had played 7 hard years. 7 years of being labeled as just another great player who couldn't win it all. And, finally, MJ won his first ring, ultimately erasing all of those criticisms and starting the career of the single greatest basketball player of all time. No one could help but feel a bit of emotion watching this, especially when he hugged his mother. Michael Jordan on Father's Day. This is perhaps one of the more emotional moments in sports history. Jordan's father had been murdered earlier that year, and on Father's Day, Jordan also won a championship. Mike rightfully cried in such an emotional and sad moment for him. He and his father had been really close, and this must have been unimaginably hard for him. KG gets emotional during interview. This was back in the day when Garnett was just a hard worker and pushed his game to the limit every single day. Now I know he's an infamously dirty player who crosses the line with his trash talking. Garnett wasn't blessed with great teammates back in the day, and even with his game at its peak, he just couldn't win, or even make the NBA Finals. All he wanted to do was win, which was made evident in the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan hits the series-clinching shot in the 1998 NBA Finals. Everybody in the world knew that 1998 would be Michael Jordan's final NBA season, but nobody knew how he would end his career. However, one thing was for sure: he still had it. As the game clock started to tick below 20 seconds, the Bulls trailed the Utah Jazz 86-85. Then Michael Jordan did what he had been doing his entire career. He robbed Karl Malone. Malone seemed destined for a post-move score that would have made it a 3-point game, until MJ came around the edge and stripped the ball from his grasp. He then calmly dribbled down the court as the clock began to tick down smaller and smaller. 12, 11, 10. And then he took off. He sprinted for Byron Russell's outside as he seemed sure to drive to the hoop, until he cut back on as perfect a crossover as I'd ever seen in my life, stepped back, and shot a fadeaway jumper that has since lived in infamy. It was unbelievable. That was Jordan's last shot, and everyone knew it. Michael Jordan was a living legend, and the way he ended his career is the way everyone would have wanted him to. It was remarkable. Luis Gonzalez ends the Yankee dynasty in a bloop. It was the 2001 World Series. The Yankees had won 4 of the last 5 fall classics. They seemed unbeatable, and most people were shocked that Arizona took them to 7 games. When the Yankees took the lead in the 8th inning, it was over. Mariano Rivera would enter for the 2-inning save, and the game would be over. Nobody scored on Mo in the playoffs. That was a fact. He was unhittable. Well, he was, except for one crisp night in 2001. In the bottom of the 9th, he did something that a total of -1 people predicted. He blew the game. He allowed a 2-run 9th, highlighted by Luis Gonzalez's game-winning bloop single. Yankee fans cried tears of sorrow knowing that this was the end of their dynasty, while the rest of the world cried tears of joy because somebody was finally able to beat those damned Yankees. Red Sox reversed the curse. 2004 seemed no different than any other year. The Red Sox and Yankees, arguably the 2 best teams in baseball, locked up in the 2004 ALCS, where the Yankees were sure to advance to the Fall Classic once again. They jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the series, and it seemed to be all over but the crying, until the Red Sox forged the greatest comeback in baseball history as they reversed the curse of the Bambino which had plagued them for 86 years. They won 4 straight and shocked the Yankees. Red Sox fans were partying like they were on top of the world. It was finally over. After 86 years, the Sox finally beat the Yankees. Red Sox fans shed tears of joy, while Yankee fans shed tears of disbelief and sorrow. Aaron Bleepin Boone wins the 2003 ALCS in one swing. The year was 2003. The Red Sox were on the verge of ending the curse of the Bambino in its 85th year. It was Game 7 of the season's legendary ALCS. The game went into extra innings where it was completely up for grabs. As the game went into the 11th inning, Red Sox's pitcher Tim Wakefield faced the seemingly harmless Aaron Boone, who had entered the game earlier as a pitch runner. However, Boone, who had done next to nothing with the lumber throughout his career, hit a home run in what was one of the most dramatic scenes in baseball history. You could see the tears building up in Aaron's brother's eyes. And anybody who had any passion for the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry at that time was doing the same. Len Bias dies after being drafted. Going into the 1986 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics had been to the NBA Finals in each of the last 4 seasons. Coming off a finals loss in 1986, the Celtics traded up in the draft to bolster their roster with the second pick. Len Bias was supposed to return the Celtics to being NBA champions, but his career never got off the ground after he died of a cocaine overdose before ever playing an NBA game. Bias cursed the Celtics and they didn't return to the finals until 2008. The Saints returned to the Superdome after one of the most deadly storms in U.S. history hit Louisiana. The New Orleans Saints were forced out of their home stadium, which was being used to store bodies. Some believed that the loser franchise Saints would never return to New Orleans or the Superdome. Oh boy, were they wrong. The Saints returned to the Louisiana Superdome in 2006. Just 1 year after Hurricane Katrina on September 24, 2006. They hosted the Atlanta Falcons on Monday Night Football in one of the most emotional games in NFL history. The Saints blew out the superior Falcons 23-3 in a performance that was out of this world. The crowd was really behind them that night. Maybe the loudest crowd I've ever heard. Nobody was beating the Saints that night. Not the 85 Bears. Not the 98 Vikings. Nobody. The Saints were a symbol of New Orleans finally coming out of hiding and reinstating itself as the Big Easy. 2001 World Series Paul O'Neill chants. I've never seen anybody who busted their ass for the game of baseball quite like Paul O'Neill. He would do anything it took to win. And Yankee fans realized this. So during the 2001 World Series, which was expected to be O'Neill's last season in pinstripes, Yankees universe wanted to give him a special parting gift. And boy was it special. During the latter portions of Game 5 of the series, every mouth screamed the same 2 words like a chorus in harmony. Paul O'Neill. It gave you goosebumps just to watch it. It's extremely rare that you see Yankee fans get like that. And the way they got behind O'Neill that night was more than touching. I cried. See you till the next video. Much thanks to you for watching.